So we are back on that furthest, backest, lowest area on our property that's usually pretty wet 6 months out of the year or more. Sometimes it's just got mud and water, standing water and stuff in it, where we discovered the other day when we were planting this little pink guava. Well, not so little, but when we dug in the ground, there were no earthworms, no earwigs around the area, nothing, no roly-polies, wood lice, nothing, no insect activity and no worms. And then, we add these beds to the ground here. It serves multiple purposes, but now that we see that the ground is likely too acidic to support earthworms and insect activity, we're doing the beds to raise the root level a couple inches or more above that wet area. We're doing it to add mycorrhizal fungi, which also helps, form like a symbiotic web around root systems to help control bacterial root rot and stuff like that. But now it's going to be a place to add lime and different things, elements, and to seed earthworms. So we want to put earthworms in there, and we want the earthworms to stay in that area around those root systems. When we removed the tires and the barrels and stuff, we sort of had an idea that that was sort of starving out, our plants oxygen, and maybe not allowing proper drainage, because it's basically a sealed tire, sealed barrel or whatever. So we started creating some beds like around that citrus tree that was not doing very well at all. And now we have to wonder if it wasn't just barrels and tires, if at all, causing problems. But the acidity, it could have been a combination of both. That tire that I pulled out of that citrus was so densely packed with roots and soil, it was hard to even get up. So that probably caused a problem within itself. I was adding organic materials, leaf sticks, and everything inside of those tires, so it had a good amount of organic material in them. But let's not speculate on barrels and tires and all causing issues, and let's figure out. I've been always taught that if earthworms are in your soil, that should be a healthy soil. And when I asked someone about it, they said, sure, there's not going to be earthworms there because it's underwater. But my answer to them was, we're in a drought. It's not flooded. We can dig down, I don't know how many feet, but a foot, 2 foot without finding water here, because I just planted that guava in the ground. Did not see any water, no mud, anything like that. If there were earthworms over there, 50 foot, 100 foot, in drier soil, they should have, in my opinion, they should have came over here, when it dried out a little bit. Now, this soil isn't dry. It's like so much organic material, that it is creating, sort of a moist dirt, like you would expect on like a forest floor, but it's not underwater. So I don't think lack of oxygen would be the reason why these guys aren't here now. So I think I said in maybe the last video, we're going to preemptively sort of strike at this problem. And yesterday I saturated a lot of the plants with some magnesium sulfate, mixed like a tablespoon to a 3/4 gallon jug, and watered a lot of things in. I've added a little bit of potash or ashes and probably some lime, but I'm going to redo that as well as I build these beds around it and keep adding more organic material to it. And I may even add some like wheat bran or something to feed those earthworms once we introduced the earthworms to the beds. Magnesium sulfate apparently helps plants like take in nutrients better through photosynthesis and stuff like that. And we may even like water in starch water as well. That helps plants get nutrients in better as well. But I'll probably wait till we get the beds started or made before I start doing that. A big part of me wonders if that is one of the issues we're having with like pawpaws not growing very fast. Now they're widely known sometimes not to take off for like 3 years or so, but sometimes ours don't take off at all, or for 6 or 8 years, and then they just start shooting up. And some of them just don't seem to ever get that vigorous growth on. When I first started questioning that, I said, well, that happens even in areas that are full of earthworms. But then I remembered that, they are known to be pretty heavy feeders. I don't really have the areas mulched, so we have grass and weeds and everything probably taking up a lot of their nutrients in other areas. Now here there isn't much. There's some grass and stuff going through. The pine needles just fall naturally around these guys, and it sort of mulches it. I mean, like I said, there's a few little weeds and stuff here. They'd be easy to pull out, but I just have to wonder if this is going to make these guys happier when I do the ones in the far back that have that super acidic soil. Once they get that earthworm activity, once they get the acidity levels down, if they're going to take off. I mean, that would be amazing if they would. I blamed a lot of stuff on the root density because this is basically a forest with roots everywhere back here. And I have planted some plants, shrubs, trees in areas where you could barely even dig into in the past and had nothing survive, which is kind of why, the idea of building a raised bed or hugelkultur bed or something sounds like the only option in some cases, versus getting a digger, backhoe, bulldozer or something and just tearing all the roots out of the ground. Even this poor grapefruit just looks half dead here, this Duncan. And you see it's got plenty of that mulch and stuff around it. But maybe, yeah, and I added some ashes a few weeks ago or something here. Maybe it just needs some earthworms and the acidity levels to change here, just to make it a little bit more happy. Or maybe it's going to die either way. This gives us another purpose with our experiments, for our drive to experiment and answer questions, because now I have another question. Is doing this going to improve everything, or are we going to see no change at all? This may be something that it takes a year or two to see if it does any good. In a different topic, this is going to be cool, fun, seeing these pawpaws and these hawthorns sort of go into the forest, the root suckers, go into areas that are mostly untouched, and create, hawthorns are native to Florida. Pawpaws are native to Florida, even though this is probably a little bit south of their natural range. But, wouldn't it be nice if a lot of that coral ardesia and camphor and all that stuff that's sort of invasive has something native competing with it a little bit all throughout these little foresty areas? Wouldn't it be nice for a generation or 5 generations away if all this isn't wiped out for building, housing or something, highways? Kids can just start collecting, pawpaws in this area. Just go to the woods and find some pawpaws. Go to the woods and collect your mayhaws. Or will climate change affect the ability to have pawpaws fruit in 20 years? Are they going to see the thickets and nothing, no bounties to harvest? Yes, if it gets to that point, someone will be welcoming mangoes and tropical guavas here more. something will have to grow here. Well, we should soon be getting a load of potting soil, and we hope that this drought ends soon. We got a little tiny sprinkle yesterday, and even though it's not saying rain in the forecast, it feels like it could sprinkle or rain a little bit today. Hopefully this drought ends soon and our plants can be happy again. I know we're not putting anything in the ground again today. As far as I know, I could always do it off camera if I have, 5 or 10 minutes, but I think today is going to be a super long day with family stuff, doctors and appointments. So I guess I'm going to end this video here. All right, take care, guys.